there, it's Linda from Lányos Handmade, and today we have the Hex Bag from Cork and Copper Designs. This is quite a cute little pattern. I've got a few of them here, and let me tell you about them. This cat face is available, and you can either have the HTV, heat transfer vinyl, iron-on vinyl, like I have on these two. This one's a foil and this one's a glitter, and I put them on vinyl. This is a lightweight vinyl and this is a heavier weight vinyl. Or you can have the cut and sew that comes from THCG Supply, and they sell these cut and sews that are really handy to use. And the other thing that's wonderful about them is Atelier Fiber Arts did Alice hardware for them, so check that out. I think I've got something special on every single one of them. I do. These are the Smiles, and this is the Mad Hatter, and so she's got a whole collection of Alice pulls. The other thing about these is I don't have an embroidery machine, but many people have been doing embroidery files for these, so there are embroidery files available for the cat smile, and there are also available appliques and reverse appliques, which I haven't done one of those yet because I was on a heat transfer vinyl kick. So I was doing that instead. Now inside we have options for whether you wanted a card slot or not. This one doesn't have it. This one has a card slot. There's two little card slot spots in here. And so you could basically use this as your wallet. Now the other thing about this bag is there are two sizes. This is the large size and there's also a small size. So you get two sizes, you get 3 styles, because you can have rounded bottoms, you can have pleated bottoms. These have pleats in them. This is just the rounded, well actually that's a flat one. You can get a rounded one too. So she's got 3 different styles, 2 different sizes, so that makes 6 bags in one pattern. And then the option of card slots or shoulder strap or adjustable shoulder strap, whether it's a chain or adjustable, or a wrist strap. I've got a wrist strap here. Or you could just make it a pouch, like a makeup pouch or anything. So I'll leave the links below for where to get the pattern and where to get the cut and sews, and look at the back of it. That's cute too. Where to get the cut and sews and where to get the hardware. And I guess we should just get started. And I'm going to apologize for my funny voice right now because I've had a cold for about 2 weeks. So, you know, who knows what I sound like. Okay, to start off, these are the cut and sews. So I just had to cut those out. That's the front and the back. This is the, I don't know if you can see that. It's the foil HTV heat transfer vinyl. So I pressed that on. I did a video as I was pressing just to show you, what did I get on there already? I'll have to wash that off. Anyway, just to show you how it works. And the same with this one. This is the glitter vinyl. I did a video of that too. I made a mistake here. I forgot there was basically a salvage on this end. But that's going to be where my seam allowance covers anyway, so I'm glad it's not any thicker than that. So I'm going to sew these zippers on there after I get the pull on one end. I've got the little Mad Hatter here, and I've got the Cheshire Smile on these two. And I can put the pulls on with my little zipper jig, and the other side is going to have this vinyl folded over and sewn on so it doesn't look like an ugly raw edge. And if you have fabric, you'll probably need twice as much as this to cover the fabric ones. I'm going to have to cut out little squares for the fabric. Now for the fabric one, you have to have these little squares, and you put them on right sides together, sew it, fold it over. It gets folded one more time. This is so awkward. And then it's folded over one more time, so it's a little pocket that it sits in. So I'm going to get started with those zippers, and then I shall come back and we will show you how we sew them on our pouches. Okay, I've got my tab on one end and I've got my hat on the other end. This vinyl tab was only folded, and this one was double folded so that we could hide the raw edge. It might be difficult to sew over the teeth. And also remember to put your pull on first, because you start from this end to put your pull on and go up, right? So you can't have the tab on. It doesn't work. So next I'm going to put labels on according to the measurements that she wants. And then after we can do some card slots. Okay, labels on, zippers and zipper tabs on. So now we can move on to doing our card slots. So there I was just talking away all to myself, and no one was listening to me because I forgot to press record. I just wanted to show you that I used this to measure out my measurements that she gives in the pattern there. So like if she says she wants something to be 4 inches, I take it over to my iron and I fold it up and I press it really well, and that puts my 4-inch fold in. And I just keep on going and going as she says in the pattern. Now I will fold this back up again very carefully because I don't want to lose any of the folds. And what we're going to do is we're going to sew the top edges here of these two. And that's because these are going to be our 2 card slots. So I'm going to sew these 2. And as you can see, I've done it here already. These 2 are sewn. And then make sure it's nice and flat again. I might press it one more time because I really like these things pressed, almost melted together. Oh yeah, and when you're sewing such a small little thing, it helps keep a long tail so that when you're sewing, it doesn't get sucked into the machine. You're holding the back to keep it taut, and then you can sew it. So now the next thing we do is we sew this down along here so that our card slots don't flap around while we're doing the next step. So I will sew the tops of these ones. And look at, I ran out of fabric, so I had to piece it together. But the good news is it's on the inside and nobody's going to see it. Ha, ha, ha. So anyway, I'm going to sew the tops of these 2, and then I'm going to base this one down and this one down. And then I'll come back and show you how to flip it around. There. Did I tell you only to sew the front and not the back? We don't want to sew the back in here. So I sewed this down and basted it. And of course the tops are sewn. So we have our little pockets. Now we turn this over to this side. Might as well show you on this one too. And we turn this over to this side and we sew our sides so that we can turn it and poke the corners out and press it and have a finished, no raw edges, little card slot pocket. Of course, the ones in the bottom will be raw, but we'll hem those up. First, let's get these things sewn together. Okay, I've sewed the sides here, and I clipped them a bit. And the sides on this one too. It's the same thing, clipped it a bit. And let's turn it inside out. Inside out, right side out, right side out. We're going to put the inside in, ha ha. Right side out. Get out my little pokey thing. Now if you're on this side, be careful because you're running into your pockets. So it's better to poke from the back here because there's no pockets on the back. Oh, there's a pretty rose on the back. Don't poke too hard. So this one is good. I just have to press it and then tuck in, like she says, on the hem and press it. And I'm not going to sew it because it's going to get sewed down when we attach it to the panel that we have. So I'm just going to keep it like that, roughly speaking, and press it. And do the other one too, and then I'll edge stitch it onto the panel. Okay, I pressed it, right? Turned it, pressed it. It's ready to be sewn on now to my panel. I might stick a little pin in there. Now I have to look in the pattern, I can't remember. I got to mark the center because it's usually from the center down where you're supposed to put this. And then we sew all the way around, and that'll close off the bottom. And I really love where that owl landed. I didn't even plan that. So sew this around on here. And I'll do the other one too. Same with the other one. Sew it around. So we've got a little card slot sewn on here. The third one I'm making doesn't have card slots on it, so I've got two here. My little Janome did just fine. It's 8200, and I don't know, I think it ends up being about 13 layers it has to go through, because this is double, right? The cards are double back, and the seam allowance doubles it, and then there's the back to stick it on. But these are done, and my machine was lovely. And I clipped these according to what the instructions say. Stay out of these seam allowances, these extra large seam allowances here, and we'll baste the zipper on. There we go. Actually, I've got them all three of them done. Basted on there. So now let's continue with this side and put this on where it's supposed to go. And then you can see you're going to end up with your zipper between the two outside layers. So I'm just going to keep clipping these and sewing these exactly the same way, and then we can put on our lining layers. Okay, I've sewed my zipper on to both of my outside layers. It's basted. Now I can put my lining on. I have to find my lining. So what we ultimately want to have is right sides together. So this is the right side, and this is the right side, but I have to decide now. This is the front. I want, sorry for the clang, I want the pocket on the back. Yep, pockets on the back. And when you're sewing these on, you can't obviously just sew them like this. You'll have to sew them flipped. So I'm going to put this one aside for a minute. This has to be sewed on here, but we're going to do it this way. So I'm going to do it like this. Where's my center mark? I don't have it. I better check. Make sure that's in the center. And there. Oops, clip's upside down. You have to move your zipper pull back and forth as you're sewing so it doesn't get in the way. Lost one. And I'm just going to clip this and show you what it looks like. I'm going to check if my center is in the right spot because I don't want to mess that up. So when this sits like this, right sides and right sides. Okay? That's pretty cool. Too bad her head got chopped off, but I was running out of materials, so. Okay, so I'm just going to sew this on here now. You can baste it if you'd like, but I'm going to actually sew it. And I better find that center point because this is a bit wobbly. Okay, I sewed it on. You've got a lining layer and an exterior layer. You've got a lining layer, an exterior layer, and in between is our zipper and another exterior layer. So that is going to be like that. Now for the other side, oh, by the way, you can snip that off too now. And for the other side, we want it to look like this, but obviously we can't sew it like that, so let's flip it over and we'll sew it. And I'm just going to clip it along here and sew it all together. Make sure you're not grabbing anything except that one exterior layer and your lining. So I'm going to clip that and sew that, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And that's done. Looking good. I'm going to press it just a little bit because I want to be able to pin it and top stitch it. I'm not going to top stitch my vinyl. I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I'll try it with some scraps and see how it looks. But I might not top stitch the vinyl. But I'm going to take a look anyway and see how it looks. And maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see when I come back. She wants you to stay out of the margins here, the seam allowances, when you're top stitching. Okay? It'll make it easier to sew together if you don't do the top stitching in the ends here. So I will be back in a minute and I'll show you what I've decided. Okay, I've got 2 of them top stitched and sewn up, so they're ready for the next step. I have to sew in the darts too later and put on tabs, but we'll see what's next in the pattern. This is top stitched too. This one I didn't top stitch because I just wanted to show you how I squish the 2 layers together so that I can make sure that I'm sewing the edge. I put the clips through the zipper this way, and then it helps me when I'm sewing. So I'm going to top stitch this one. Okay, if you have the version with the darts in, let's clip all our darts together in our exterior and our lining, and we'll sew those. I'm going to do this one too. Okay, I put my little darts in. Now, if you've got something that needs... See, I've got these that go on after your bag's done. This one too. I can't get the thing open. I'll have to cut it open. This one goes on after your bag's done too. So the 2 things I have go after your bag. If you have a D-ring, there's instructions in the pattern so that you can sew a tab on here so that you can, after you sew these pieces together, your tab will be sticking out and you can hook your strap or wrist strap or whatever on it. I'm not making anything with tabs. Maybe the next one now, I don't know. But I'm going to do the whole bag up. Sew it up and then attach something after it's finished. Okay, so I've got my darts put in. And my zippers in and top stitched. Now we have to sew our layers together. This outer layer is sewn from one edge to the other, right? And we stagger, well, you want to already anyway, but we stagger our little seam allowances here so that there's not too much bulk that we have to sew through. This side we can sew and stagger, but we have to leave room in the bottom so that we can turn it. And then we'll stagger this. So I'm going to sew all these with the seam allowance that she recommends. Move your zipper pull into the center more so that you can turn it afterwards. And I've got 3 of them to do, so I'll get these done. Okay, so I've got them all sewed. This one you might notice that I spray glued a piece of foam on it. It's not following the form of the bag, but it'll be inside anyway, so, you know, it'll hold. And I have my holes and my zipper open. Here's my hole again. My zipper's open. And same here. Oop. Yep, hole and the zipper's open. For a second I thought it wasn't. I sewed around and then I trimmed the seam allowance down. So now I can turn one of these. This is pretty stiff. This is the stiffest one. Let's see if I can get it through. Make sure you poke the corners out really good. Especially on this one. This one's very stiff. And if you're lucky, there'll be a little gap here. Because if there's a gap in here, that means that you've got good space for your corners to pop out. Because you don't want these corners sewed into your tab. You want that hole there. So I'm going to push these corners out on all 3 of these ones, and then the last thing we have to do is hem up the bottom of the lining and put on our side connectors. This one's just a pouch. It doesn't have a side connector. So I'm going to press everything out and hem up this one and it'll be finished. So I'll come back and show you what it looks like. I don't think there's anything else I have to say, but let's get it done. Okay, the final thing is straps. These, I put them through the vinyl only and not the lining because I was worried that maybe everything was too thick with the foam and the lining. So they're just through the vinyl, but I always put glue inside the track and slide it on, and then there's screws that make it stay. And then I put on the ready-made chain strap. Now this one, these are clamps, so they get clamped on, and they went through, oh yeah, they just went through the vinyl layers because there's a seam there. I didn't want to get it stuck. So anyway, they're put on, and then you just put the strap on. This is a clamp too that I put on, and I'm going to put a wrist strap on it. I don't necessarily need that part of it. This works too. Maybe I'll save this for something else. Anyway, this is where the wrist strap goes. So all I have to do is sew a little box to close that off. I just fed it through, right? And sew a little box and that'll be done. So I'm going to sew the box, and then after we are done. Let's see. There, you could use a rivet in here too. I'm just going to put some, I put a little bit of glue on the ends here. You could burn the ends if you want to too, but I don't have anything with me to set fire. So I'm just going to sew a little box on and stick some glue here. And then we'll be done. So how'd that go? Which one did you make? Did you make the big one, the small one? Did you make all 6 of them? Did you do cut and sews? Did you do embroidery? What about the heat transfer vinyl? Appliques, reverse appliques? Well, we want to see them. So make sure you post your hardware in Atelier and your vinyl wherever you bought it. Your cut and sews in THCG Supply. Your pattern in Cork and Copper Designs. And I hope you had fun. See you again soon. Thanks for watching.